Welcome to Ladies of Another View, and I'm here today with Carmen on the end, and the monkey in the middle, and
Oh,
me, the other monkey on the other end, Patty. So later on in the show, John Deaton is going to be joining us, and he is a U.S. Senate candidate for Congress out of Massachusetts. He's going to talk about Iran, and he's a former Marine too, so he really knows the military side of things, and talk a little bit about his campaign because he's running in a liberal area as a conservative. So, and then later for the light side, we're going to talk about health, mental health, and exercise, especially as you get older. So I always like to find little angles, but always a new one. But first, I'm really excited. We haven't seen Darlene in a while with Epic Times. Darlene McCormick Sanchez with Epic Times, reporting on some pretty big stuff lately. Welcome to the show, Darlene.
Hi, thanks for having me.
You've been doing the deep dives lately, and this first story we're going to talk about, you can't believe it happened in our country, in Texas. So she posts about the water quality, and the police come knocking on her door and arrest her and charge her with a felony. Tell us what that's about.
Well, it's a pretty crazy story, as you've kind of, pointed out there. She basically ran a site, Southern Bell Watch. It was, anonymous, but it's like a community, watch group, community reporting. And she would put things up there, post them, ask the community questions, it's citizen journalism, basically. So she heard, this is Jennifer Combs, is the lady in question here. She lived in a neighboring county, but was very familiar with Trinidad, Texas, and its water problems, which have been ongoing for years. But on Facebook, an elderly lady had been asking people for help to get more bottled water because she couldn't afford anymore. She was on a fixed income, and so she was asking for help. And of course, that raises the question, why do you need bottled water? And of course, Jennifer Combs knew why, and she tried to get her help. And then she started hearing from other people about the quality of the water, particularly around that time, and started posting about it, saying that she'd heard reports that there were problems, and that if anyone had those reports or personal, information about it, to contact the site, and so she could forward it on, to the agencies that oversee water quality.
wow, that's so interesting. It's definitely giving me the vibes of like Erin Brockovich, right? So tell us a little bit more of what was learned about why this water was murky.
Well, they have had people come down and test it. The Texas agency in charge of that did come and test it, and I, contacted them. They sent me some reports that showed that there had been, and were at the time of the report, ongoing water problems there that hadn't been resolved. Some had been and some had not been. But there was indeed a boil order there for the water not long after Jennifer Combs posted that notice on her Facebook page, saying that people were complaining about the quality of the water, and that, if you had any information, to contact her. So, there were legitimate concerns with the water. And she, of course, didn't say there was anything wrong with the water. She was just saying, hey, people are telling me there's a problem here. And if you have any information, contact us.
Right. Well, and can you talk a little bit about what's the aftermath of her actually publishing that and getting charged? What has gone on since then? Or put in jail, I guess. There were no charges at the time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was, she was charged, she was put in jail, but then she had to spend about 24 hours in jail, not a total one day. But anyway, overnight, that was a nightmare for her, as she described. She told me that, she was in the women's side of the holding facility there at the jail. The men on the other side did something, they got pepper sprayed. The pepper spray actually, went through the vent system into the women's side. She was choking and coughing. And of course, on top of that, she was just, distraught, obviously. And she couldn't contact anyone. Her husband found out, he couldn't get her out that night. put some money on one of the cards, in jails that you can call. She said she made probably about 70 calls to her husband. And in the meantime, the embarrassment of it all too is her children, a lot of families have apps that they'll be able to track each other. Her children were wondering where she was at, trying to contact her, and they tracked her to the jail on the app. And they're like, what's going on? So they were calling her husband and their father, and saying, hey, why is it showing that mom's in jail? And he's like, because she is. And they're like, what's happening? They're like, mom's a goody two shoes. How could she be in jail?
Also, yeah, goody two shoes. She sees a problem and she's trying to help people. She's trying to address it. Okay, so Epic Times also has some TV segments, Epic TV. Facts Matter with Romano Baumakov, and he talks about this story. I just grabbed a minute of it that we can watch.
And I want to go through a few of the specific points in this case because it really demonstrates how corrupt things can get without transparency. And so, rewinding the clock, you have Jennifer make her Facebook post and then get arrested for inciting a panic. And then the following is what took place. Quote, a local citizen, Winston Knowles, known as Otto the Watchdog, was arrested for municipal disorderly conduct after protesting Combs' arrest outside City Hall with a sign containing an obscenity. And so the guy protesting the arrest was himself arrested on a disorderly conduct charge because allegedly the sign he was holding up had a profane word on it, and the police claimed that the profanity offended somebody. Now, even though we're in America, you're already thinking that doesn't even make sense, but it gets even stranger when you consider the following. Quote, Colby Reyes, former city water clerk, was fired after she allegedly declined to file a complaint about being offended by Knowles at the behest of the police chief. Reyes refused, saying that she was not offended, meaning that the police justified arresting the protester by saying that this other woman in the city's water office was offended by his sign. But that was a lie. And when the woman refused to file an official complaint about being offended, she was fired by the city.
There's nothing to see here, folks.
Yeah.
Guilty much?
Well, it's crazy, but now he since has lost his job, right? But she's suing because if you can imagine being put through something like this and all the things you just explained. And we were talking ahead of the show, and one good thing is this is the kind of story that you hear in the UK all the time. People are getting arrested for Facebook posts. But the difference is in this country, everyone is like, are you kidding me? People are losing jobs. It's big news. It's not okay. So at least we can be grateful for that. But my goodness, the kind of corruption that was going on in this small town is unbelievable.
I mean, it was an unbelievable story. It was like, domino effect there with all the lawsuits getting filed, the people getting fired, or, there was also the city judge there, municipal judge. She was, relieved of her job as well, because whenever the case went before the city, she was a city judge, she basically kicked the case out, and then she got fired. The case with Mr. Knowles, the watchdog, and him, offending someone. And she's like, well, there's no evidence of this. So she dismissed that case, and then she got fired.
I'm sorry. Town of like 800 people. This is so North Dakota to me, but it's in Texas of all places. Can you just kind of give us an overview then of how this is similar? I'm just going off script here, but I'm having all these COVID flashbacks. How many people lost their jobs? How many people, all of that, and it just seems like it carried on. How long ago did this work, or did this happen to this lady?
This was in April and May when most of this stuff happened. And of course, she was no-billed, after she was charged and arrested. It went before grand jury, and they no-billed her. They refused or declined to indict her. She was, under no jeopardy at that point, legally. And of course, then she filed a lawsuit against the city and the police, for, false imprisonment, for, basically, going against, the First Amendment, her right to free speech. And since then, she kind of looks at this as a way of, helping the citizens there and in other small towns where, You know, it's kind of like a Peyton place. Everybody knows everybody. And there are definitely, you know, power plays in some of these small towns. So, you know, she's hoping that her lawsuit, which has gotten huge amount of attention, of course, particularly because it's in Texas, you know, a free state, as they say, you know, that this will, you know, be a warning to all these small towns out there, you know, where power has been entrenched, you know, with the same city council, the same mayor, et cetera, that you can't do this to folks. You know, this is America and people have a right to free speech.
Right, and I think small towns, maybe in big cities where people have too much power and they're too full of themselves. I mean, this guy basically must have been running things the way he wanted for a long time. And when people didn't go along with him, he's firing left and right. I don't know, maybe the guy's having some kind of mental breakdown, but to see that kind of power-hungry control, I suppose it happens a lot.
It does.
Because you get people who really want that power to run for offices like that and get appointed. So when we come back, Darlene's also been covering the Charlie Kirk murder trial, talking about the assassin. We will talk about that when we come back.
We're not some big city operation with a call center that doesn't even know where North Dakota is. We're Beck, built and rooted in rural North Dakota. We're your neighbors, your cooperative, working together for more than 70 years to keep you connected to what matters most in your life. Our Beck Fiber is more than just internet service. It's what you rely on every day. And if you ever have a question, we're just down the road, ready to help. Beck Communications, committed to you because we're local too.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Yeah, U.S. Cattlemen is a member organization that each member has a vote in anything we do with policy. We're representing the independent cattleman or the cow-calf guy or an independent feeder or whatever. We like to support the independent producer. We're talking about mandatory ID, we're talking about COOL, we're talking about all the legislation that's going to be coming down with the new administration. There's going to be lots of moving and shaking, so always check us out at our website, uscattleman.org.
Come on in and experience small town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car, whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute. We have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and the team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
When I first decided to invest in gold, I was a bit nervous and unsure how to start. Luckily, I found Noble Gold Investments. From the very first call, they made investing easy. No pushy sales tactics, no gimmicks, and no confusing free silver offers with hidden fees. Just honest advice tailored to my needs, giving me confidence every step of the way. If you're new to gold investing or want a partner you can trust, visit noblegoldinvestments.com.
Welcome to where classy meets Wild West. Buffalo Gypsy Boutique of Bismarck has clothing, decor, and gifts ranging from sophisticated boho style to fun and flashy. Our exclusive brands such as Scully, Double D Ranch, and Tanner Mark provide standout style for the whole family, right down to the little ones. We always have a great selection of Kimes denim, and we proudly offer American-made jewelry and artwork. Find Buffalo Gypsy classing up North Bismarck just off Highway 83.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, and I want to welcome back our guest, Darlene McCormick Sanchez. She's an award-winning reporter with Epoch Times. Welcome back, Darlene. You've been covering the case on the assassin of Charlie Kirk, and you've written a number of different articles. And even now, one of the articles you wrote was about, okay, so the assassin confessed to the killing, but I understand that there's some recordings that aren't allowed, his testimony. They restrict the video testimony. So I thought, wait a minute, if that's evidence, why is that getting restricted? So tell me, what kind of things are you seeing?
Okay. So this particular court setting was a preliminary court setting. It wasn't the actual trial, right? So in this situation in Utah, they things are a little different there. They will allow, for example, hearsay evidence. Okay, it has to be, quote, reliable hearsay evidence. I mean, in this situation, it was the roommate of Charlie Kirk, who was also his lover. He testified, told police, in a recorded video, what Charlie Kirk allegedly said to him. I'm sorry, what Charlie Kirk's assassin allegedly said to him. And that was used in the courtroom. So part of what the defense was arguing is, although this is a preliminary hearing, you're still putting that out there and potentially tainting a jury pool, in the future by putting this, alleged confession. And so, the court ruled basically that some of that video could not be shown. I think there were a few parts of it that the audio wasn't published either, but most of it was, and you could hear most of it. So it didn't have, I think the judge was trying to play it down the middle and allow for, open access for the public, transparency, but at the same time trying to protect, everybody's right to, a trial, basically. You're innocent until proven guilty. So I think he was trying to do that, but at the same time, it made a lot of people, particularly, Charlie Kirk's family, his widow, Erica, very upset because they wanted to hear all the evidence. They felt like, they're the victims here. Charlie was the victim, and they deserved to hear everything that was, all the evidence that the police had. The potential trial is coming up, supposedly, we would think later in the year.
It is very interesting to me. It seems like in the pursuit of truth, to find out really the full amount of what has happened and transpired, you would want to look at all of the evidence. It just seems like a given. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and sometimes I don't understand what seems to feel like cover-up. How does this hit you?
Well, I think that, there are some courts, Utah at least allows, cameras in the courtroom. In Texas, for example, they don't normally do that. Maybe the civil cases, but, as far as I know in the federal cases, when I was covering Antifa trial here in Texas, the ones that attacked, the center down there that was holding illegal immigrants. That was very unusual for them to even have it. It was broadcast, so to speak, to another courtroom because it was an overflow situation. And even that was considered a big deal. So at least Utah has that. I think that some of these things that obviously didn't come out in the evidentiary hearing will come out in a trial, should there be one, which it appears that, basically this court hearing up there was to determine whether or not there was enough evidence for the case to go to trial, for the judge to say, yeah, there's enough evidence here, it's probable cause to go to trial, which I don't know how in the world someone could say there wasn't, but of course I'm not the judge, but I would expect it to go to trial, of course, and I think then that evidence that was withheld at this point will certainly become public.
You make some good points there. Number one, how much evidence is required for an evidentiary hearing? Just to me, that's like thinking of all the citizens of this country, all the back and forth of who's, is judicial, corrupt, whatever. The fact that they didn't want that to be part of the evidence for the evidentiary. But how is it any different than presenting a letter that was written that did that same confession? Did the court do any kind of differentiating of that?
Well, here's what happens. The judge himself is able to see all the evidence. what this whole argument was about, and has been since this has been going on, all spring and into the summer now. The defense, Robinson's defense team, who's accused of shooting Kirk, they're saying, they tried to keep the cameras out of the courtroom. They didn't want any pre-trial publicity. They were doing their best to basically limit that or stop it. And of course, the judge ruled no, and most of it has been admitted, of course, and published for the public to see. The judge gets to see all this. So he's the one that's going to make that decision. So it's not like this evidence has been withheld from him. It's been withheld from the public at this point. Later, it should be, fully admissible. And I'm sure there's going to be arguments about it again, but, the judge has so far ruled that almost all this evidence should be published.
Right.
Since he already confessed, and share with me, because I don't understand, what is there to talk about if you go to trial when you've already confessed?
Well, I think that's a good question. It's going to be very difficult for the defense in this situation. Now, what they're saying, of course, is this is hearsay, and I doubt that, Robinson will testify. So, it's the word of the roommate and his lover saying, this is what he said to me. But
didn't his father though also call, and he confessed to his dad too, right? Am I correct?
I don't know if you could call that a confession. It wasn't entered in the evidentiary hearing. So he did call his father, and, he apparently there was a family friend that got involved and said, you need to come on in and turn yourself in. But yeah, there what the police were arguing in the evidentiary hearing that were taking the stand. It's like, this guy turned himself in. So, there was a manhunt for the guy that shot, Charlie, and this guy turned himself in. So, and then you've got, the letter that's, physical evidence, as well as, I guess you'd have to determine, you'd have to prove, before jury that letter was indeed written by, Taylor. But, you have the roommate, the roommate apparently took pictures of this letter. He also, had all those text messages, which a lot of them were entered in the evidentiary hearing between him and, Robinson. So I think, you've got a pretty strong evidence there that, these could be validated, for a jury and before the court.
Yeah.
Well, it just is so hard because it stirs up all the anguish and sadness, and for the family.
Well, I think
and
there's
for the
so
country.
much passion across the nation for both sides that they wanted everything out now. Why do we have to wait? We're so used to doom scrolling and all this stuff. We want this decided like now,
Right,
cut and
yeah.
dried.
Well, Darlene, thank you for joining us on two very big stories, and I hope we'll be talking to you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
And when we come back, John Deaton, a former U.S. Marine, and he's a U.S. candidate for Senate out of Massachusetts. He's going to talk about Iran and more when he comes back.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
When there's a storm on the horizon, you typically don't get a lot of advance notice. So you brace yourself as best you can and rebuild when it's over. Times like these are what insurance is for, the protection of our livelihoods, our families, our homes, and our lives. We support our community coming together in times of need. As an independent insurance agency, we tailor our services to your needs. At Dakota Community Insurance, we can help you weather the storm. Talk to one of our agents today.
There's never been a better time to rediscover the style, reliability, and all-season, all-terrain fun of the all-new Nissan lineup at the new and improved Ryan Nissan. Whether it's the sleek and stylish Murano, the adventure-ready Pathfinder, or the reimagined, ready-for-anything 2026 Rogue, the all-new Ryan Nissan has the vehicle of your dreams at a price perfect for any budget. It's time to rediscover your passion for the road. It's time to rediscover the all-new Ryan Nissan, engineered to endure.
Let's be frank, it's a pain to be without your vehicle after an accident. That's why you should take it to Jerome's Collision Center. Our shop is supersized and we have the qualified staff to fill it up and work on your vehicle, step by step, piece by piece, in crazy fast time without sacrificing quality. When you need us, we'll turn your bad experience into a good one. We're Jerome's Collision Center and we're the best at what we do.
Hey, I'm Corey Heppola, and I grew up in a small town.
This road used to be gravel.
But a long time ago, I left to live in a big city. Now, I wonder...
Just because we're small doesn't mean we can't have nice things.
What would it be like to move back?
Man, it's mad love up in here.
So, I'm traveling to different small towns across the Midwest to find out. Because what do I really know about rural living? Oh. The people.
If there is anything that you can say about this town, it's that we take care of each other.
The innovation.
So none of this equipment even existed.
And the opportunities.
It's like every year in the spring, there's always like a revitalization of just excitement.
This is my town.
Oh! Oh, jeez! You were close.
7 episodes. Sunday night, 6:30 on Beck TV.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View, and I want to welcome back our guest, John Deaton, who is a former Marine. He's a former and current lots and lots of stuff. His resume goes on and on. He's from Highland Acres, or not Highland Acres. I'm gonna have you come on first, John, so you can correct me. Highland Park in Michigan, a very poverty-stricken area, pulled himself up by the bootstraps. I've always loved having you on, and you are running in a very liberal area as a conservative for the Senate in Massachusetts. I love it. No fear, never give up. You're an example of somebody who never gives up. You were in the Marines. You have 3 daughters. So let's start talking about what's going on with Iran right now. Because I know from your perspective of the military, I'd really like to hear what you're seeing, because we hear, oh, there's a peace deal. Okay, this is going to be a short conflict. And then it just keeps going on and on. What do you say about it?
Yeah, well, listen, you can never apply rational thought when you're dealing with religious zealots who will kill their own people, like 40,000, freedom protesters in Iran were brutally murdered by their own regime. So when their own regime doesn't care about their own people, it's hard to predict anything rational. And so, right now, I think President Trump is learning that, not that he didn't know it already, but that the fact that when normal people would say, hey, it's in our best interest to come to a peace deal, Iran doesn't necessarily see that. So I think that the good news is the last few days, there's been no shooting, there's been no bombs. The question is this a real reset, or is it just taking a break before the bombing begins?
I guess, it's sort of so ongoing and so huge, and sometimes it's like, I know personally, I feel like I have to break off, take a little break. But really, this is essentially a war on ideology, is it not? And then the second part to my question, John, is do you think that most people understand that a lot of people are looking on that side of the world to really initiate some end times warfare, and that's a good thing in their sight?
Well, yeah, there's no doubt ideology is a big, obviously, part of it. And that's what I meant. Since 1979, I mean, Iran has been the #1 sponsor of terrorism around the world. And every single president, whether it be Barack Obama or George W. Bush or Donald Trump, has all agreed that it is imperative to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon. And so we understand that if they do acquire a nuclear weapon, they're not going to hesitate to use it. And so, that's the number one, I think, position from a foreign policy standpoint that every single president, Republican or Democrat, has agreed upon. And Iran is looking at this not from their people, but how they can gain leverage. So, for example, they want to now control the Strait of Hormuz, which is about 25% of global oil supply, so that they can, charge a toll or a fee going through the Strait of Hormuz. And, that would estimate $100 billion a year. They're not going to build necessarily schools and hospitals and better infrastructure. They're most likely going to use that money to spread their terrorism around the world. So there's a lot at stake, and that's where we are today. Unfortunately, the real question is President Trump entertaining ground troops? And that's something that I don't know, but that seems a lot of people are thinking that might be the next stage.
Yes, and Trump is the master at staging things and keeping people off guard. And I think part of me said, all of this buildup of our troops and supplies and everything in the Mideast right now, perhaps that's a scare tactic for Iran, but they're like, that guy's crazy. He'll probably use them if we don't cooperate. I mean, it's all that chess play stuff. But I just want to know what you think as far as, are we still in that category of he said, she said, who's in charge? We don't know. We're dealing with these people, but these other people are really in charge, and we can never bomb enough to get rid of their tunnels and all the things and all those doubtful things. Do you think we're still there? It's just not being talked about?
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, if you look at the way that, the United States took out an entire first and second tier of, these Islamic leaders. And now they've really created this decentralized form of leadership in Iran. And here's the problem. The billions and billions of dollars that Iran got its money on going back into the Obama deal is that they used it to build these tunnels and to put inside mountains, weapons depots inside these mountains. And so, this isn't unfortunately going to be something that happens overnight. And we're probably looking at, several more months of this, unless, the leadership in Iran comes to their senses. And President Trump may very well carry out his threats of taking out some of the oil infrastructure, the bridges and things of that nature, which would be a big deal. If they think that's going to happen, maybe that does bring them to the real peaceful talks.
Well, the left, of course, ignores the atrocities against their own humans, the human rights offenses, and especially against women, and they put people to death, their own citizens, if they even protest, or if they even help a protester. You can get killed for that, and people have gotten killed for that. So how is this going to affect them in midterms? Because initially we heard they took out first level, second level leadership. We thought this was going to be over quickly, like in Venezuela, and we thought, okay, we're really on an upswing here. Here, the U.S. military is showing its might for a better world. But now it's dragging on, and we have the left just representing everything in the worst possible light. Do you think this is going to affect midterms?
Yeah, and that's part of what's at play. Unfortunately, when we're talking about our military service members, you would think that our elected leaders would not politicize war, and that they would truly put America first and American service members first. But unfortunately, in a midterm, they're going to politicize everything. They're going to use every American casualty as an example to try to drive the unpopularity of the war. The reality is the war is unpopular here in America, and so therefore they're going to take every advantage that they can to try to make that impact the midterms. And I think, unfortunately, the Iranian regime knows that. They know that President Trump obviously would rather not lose the Senate. A lot of people believe the House is already going to be lost because investigations and committee hearings, and the real work's never going to get done. But that's what we're seeing play out right now by the Democrats. They're going to use every American casualty to their political advantage, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad still, just on a personal perspective, I'm still glad that we went after the bullies, so to speak. I think at some point somebody's got to have the initiative to go in and say enough is enough. And I think there's a lot of ways that we need to address the fallout of all of that, including especially, like we said, ideology, because a lot of times we don't understand our enemy. So I think that's pretty crucial.
And we have short memories. We're forgetting what was going on with the revolution and people filling the streets and being killed, massacred, because they were protesting the regime, and how there was celebrations around the world and in the United States when Trump went in there. People are forgetting that, and they're burying it, and it's just, the Trump derangement syndrome. Everything is so bad that he does, and then if you lose some of your own military, and I know even people that were defending it and in favor of it said, but if we start putting boots on the ground, then I'm going to have a different opinion. And that's the problem. Like you said, you can't expect them to be rational. So when you get involved, but at the same time, we don't want them to have nuclear power. We have to save the world. So anyways, when we come back, speaking of saving the world, that is what John wants to do. And we're going to talk about his campaign when we come back.
You know the rule. No phones at the dinner table.
I know, I'm sorry. It's just Noble Gold Investments. I bought some gold for the kids.
Finally.
Well, the gold you bought me gives me so much security in this economic disaster we're having. I want that for them too.
Well, I've been investing with Noble Gold Investments for years, and I'm pretty sure they can wait until after lunch.
Invest in something you can hold. Invest in Noble Gold. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com to learn more.
West River Equipment of Mandan is here to help you maintain peak productivity in your operation. As an authorized dealer for many high-quality equipment lines, we have the new and used equipment it takes to make your farming, ranching, or construction operation profitable and efficient. West River Equipment also has the parts on hand and the experienced technicians in our shop to get your equipment back in action fast. Find what you need at West River Equipment on Old Red Trail in Mandan.
Find relief for what ails you at Steep Me Tea Apothecary. Teas, supplements, tinctures, and more. Formulated to fight whatever has you down. We're Bismarck Mandan's favorite place to find delicious, natural, and easy ways to alleviate symptoms brought on by anything from colds to cancer. Brew a better you at Steep Me Tea Apothecary. Steep Me products may cause side effects, including but not limited to improved mood, deeper sleep, enhanced hydration, renewed sense of smell, increased energy levels, superior balance, boosted immunity, proper digestion, restored sense of calm, and a delightful smelling home.
Welcome to Radiant Retreat Tanning and Spa in Mandan, where a relaxing spa experience meets the latest in healing innovations. Take total control of your massage in our Hydro Massage Bed. Experience whole body healing in our Zero Body Cryo Bed. Let our salt sauna and halo generator restore your respiratory and skin health. And of course, tailored tanning will keep you looking as good as you feel. Discover your best self at Radiant Retreat, 1307 1st Street Northeast, Mandan.
We're from North Dakota, where 12,000 workers bring electricity to 2 million customers and provide over $5 billion in economic activity to the state, while reclaiming 22,000 acres of land. This is coal country.
Welcome back to John Deaton. Welcome back to the show, John. And he is a U.S. candidate in Massachusetts for Senate, former Marine. And my goodness, you are in a deep blue state and you're running for the Senate, U.S. Senate. Why? Why are you doing that?
Why are you insane, John?
Yeah.
Big blue wall.
Thank you. Thank you for supplying that
the
adjective
big blue
for
wall
me,
that
yeah.
I'm trying to overcome. Listen, I ran in 2024 against Elizabeth Warren, and there were a couple big positives, believe it or not. I was a no-name candidate. It was my first time out, and I didn't pick a small seat. I was the first Republican to get over 40% in many, many years. 1.35 million people voted for me. But the primary, the Republican primary, is September 1st. And so when you count early mail-in voting, you don't have a lot of time. So after I won the primary, I only had 6 weeks before voting, and I still was able to do that. I was actually the best performing non-incumbent Senate candidate in the country. So, and Massachusetts was the second best state President Trump improved over from 2020. He improved 8 points. So it shows you an undercurrent of folks in Massachusetts, even folks who used to be, let's say, a JFK type Democrat. Well, if JFK were alive today, they would call him MAGA today, right? He wouldn't be a Democrat under today's standards of the Democratic Party. So the good news is that I don't have a primary this time. I'm taking on Ed Markey, who has been there since I was 6 years old. He's been there 53 years. He's 80 years old. And a lot of people who are center-left folks believe they've went too far left, because Ed Markey's extreme as you can get. I mean, open borders, citizenship for every illegal in the country, even if they've been charged with crime. Not just open borders, but co-author the Green New Deal, and biological men can go, play sports against biological women, even boxing them and things of that nature. And I think that the 67% that are independents in Massachusetts is the number one in the country. I think we have a real shot this time.
Well, I'd like to shift focus a little bit. It seems to me, in looking at some of your bio, that maybe you have a unique ability to sort of reach into a different type of voter's background and appeal to them. You went through so much trauma and difficulty as a young man. I'm just curious to hear, how do you see the critical steps or moments in your life? What were those things that changed the trajectory for you to be so successful?
And we're going to put some pictures up while you're talking. Just keep talking. We'll put up some pictures
Okay.
from your background.
Yeah,
where you grew up.
the most pivotal moment was when I dropped out of high school. The first day of high school at Highland Park High, I had a gun shoved in my mouth, and I was a high school dropout like everyone in my family before me. And my mother caught me. That's my beautiful mother there. She caught me crying, and she said, "Why are you so upset?" And I said, "Because I want to go to college. I need to graduate high school." And she said, "Well, just work till you're 17. She'll sign the papers and I'll join the military." And that was our ticket out of the hood. And I told my beautiful mother, who's my hero, I said, "Mom, I need to graduate high school and go to college." And she put her arms around me to console me and said, "I'm sorry, son, but college isn't for people like us." That the most strongest woman I've ever met in my life is my mother. She was born into intergenerational poverty. And that's what poverty had done to her. It stripped her of her self-esteem, ladies, that we were like this subclass human because we lived where we lived. We didn't have money. We were, the only whites in the neighborhood, to be blunt. And so because we were living in that type of environment, college was just out of our aspirations. And so wanting to break the cycle, it motivated me, and I was able to find a Catholic high school, and I paid myself through high school and then college and then law school, and now I'm here talking to you fine women.
Wow. And that's the recap, but you're also a cancer survivor. Having been a Marine, like we said before, you've also been, you're an attorney, you're a dad, you're all these things that your generation and some of the rest of us, that's what America is. That you have that spirit that you just want to accomplish and you want to do and you want to give back to your country and your community and your family. And it just seems like you are really the epitome of that. And how does that background influence your campaign on the surface? You know, what are you talking to people about? What are they concerned about? How is that interaction all going?
Well, I understand poverty because I've lived through it. I understand the crushing weight of debt because of my student loans and trying to raise a family. So I understand what it's like to work 50 hours a week and not feel like you're getting ahead. And so I understand the struggles that they're going through. And my bio gives me this unique personality where I can go into any environment. Listen, I was just at the Puerto Rican parade in Boston, and I had served, with Latinos, and I know that by nature, many of them are hardworking, faith-based, family-oriented conservatives themselves. And so being able to identify from a life experience gives me a connection and authenticity to voters that maybe some other politicians don't have. And so I think I'm going to be able to do well in communities that maybe some other Republicans have struggled in the past because of that bio.
Can I just put in there, do you have some sort of support with as far as getting out the vote and things? Because sometimes when people are beaten down like that, they're like, yeah, my vote doesn't count. Are you seeing a shift in that?
That's the whole focus I'm on. That is such a great question, and it's right on point because, people do feel that way. They feel, well, nothing ever changes for me, so it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, it all stays the same. And so giving them a voice is the thing. And we're spending a lot of time micro-targeting those voters, because if those voters come out, we're going to surprise a lot of people come November. I know no one's sitting around, America right now, certainly not in Washington, thinking that the U.S. Senate seat in Massachusetts is in play, but it is. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised come November.
Well, of course, that would make a big difference to Massachusetts, but it makes a big difference to our country, too. Every time we get another person who is strong like you, defending our country, defending our rights, it affects all of us because you'd be in Congress. So I want to point people to your page, johndeaton4sunnet.com. And this is a book that you wrote, Food Stamp Warrior. It tells the whole story, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the success at the end. That's the important thing, is you never gave up. And so everybody can relate to you.
Never have. And the book, I'll never, listen, the good news about the book is that there's nothing they can find on me that's not talked about in that book. Every bad decision I may have made in life, I include in that book. And it resonates with people because at the end of the day, the real difference isn't right versus left. It's people in power versus people not in power. And I'm trying my best to convince folks that, neighbors who may have voted differently in the presidential election have more in common than these career politicians. And so it's an uphill battle, ladies, but I'm confident that we're gonna create some history this year.
So yeah, definitely go to the website, donate, pray for John. I want to have you. And he has promised, I know he's going to get busy when he's elected, but he's promised to still come back on our show. So we want to get 100% behind John. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about exercises leading to brain health in a big, powerful way. And you don't have to exercise that much, just a little bit, and it'll work. So don't go away.
Me and my son were making a switch to natural deodorants, moving away from the aluminum products, the unhealthy ingredients, flip the bottle over, can't pronounce anything on there. And so we started trying different products that were in the marketplace. And each one of them was really disappointing. And so we spent a year with our chemist working on lots of different versions of the formula until we finally perfected it, where the product lasts the entire day. It smells amazing, and our customers are extremely happy with the quality, the longevity, and the natural ingredients that we're using. You can go to MasculineManEssentials.com, use code LADIES10 for 10% off. And we really appreciate your support.
Stop out to our facility, Highway 22 South. Let us build a truck for you.
When there's a storm on the horizon, you typically don't get a lot of advance notice. So you brace yourself as best you can and rebuild when it's over. Times like these are what insurance is for, the protection of our livelihoods, our families, our homes, and our lives. We support our community coming together in times of need. As an independent insurance agency, we tailor our services to your needs. At Dakota Community Insurance, we can help you weather the storm. Talk to one of our agents today.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
Let's be frank, it's a pain to be without your vehicle after an accident. That's why you should take it to Jerome's Collision Center. Our shop is supersized, and we have the qualified staff to fill it up and work on your vehicle, step by step, piece by piece, in crazy fast time without sacrificing quality. When you need us, we'll turn your bad experience into a good one. We're Jerome's Collision Center, and we're the best at what we do.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. It's time for the lighter side, and some people might not think this is the lighter side, but it is. If you just exercise a little bit more, well, I don't know, you might be good at it already, 4 to 5 days a week, and for maybe 20-30 minutes, and you're going to boost your brain health, and because otherwise it releases a lot of the stress too. So exercise fuels the brain stress and it buffers it. So exposure to long-term stress can be toxic to multiple systems in your body, even leading to medical problems, high blood pressure. I mean, depression, high blood pressure, all those things are going to get better. And I said, well, you don't have to necessarily have a major workout, but we're talking moderate walking. And we were debating it during the break, and like, what's moderate for you may not be what's moderate for me.
Notice how she's always looking at me. No,
because that's who was, that's who started the debate with me. And I know for some people, I don't want to exercise, but you know what? A little bit of moderate walking, like get out there for 30 minutes. In the end, like in the very beginning, you might feel tired at first, but then you start actually feeling better and you have more energy. But it shows, studies have shown, and there's a lot of different studies, not just one, that it actually is going to sharpen your memory and your brain health.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of great things that go along with exercise. It gets your brain changed, the stress can go away, it can improve your mental health. I mean, just think about how do we feel when we go out there and move a little. My mom will always say to me, well, you gotta, if you want energy, you have to export energy. So you gotta go and move and do so that you can get the benefits of that. But it's true. Just think about how you feel. What happens in your brain when you move and get out there and exercise a little bit? I know it's been kind of hard with some of the air quality we've had lately.
It's one of those things where exercise has gotten to be a bad name for some people. It used to be, you didn't hear it every time you turned around. Now it's like, oh, you've got to go to the gym. Oh, you've got to do this. Oh, you've got to do that. And, I grew up here and you don't got to do nothing but pay taxes and die, So anyway, but I digress. So I'm not saying not to exercise, okay, and not to walk and do all the things, but, it can build your mind's muscles. And I think this is where it gets into the mental health thing where, if you've noticed that maybe, you're not your memory isn't as good, or your things like that. It's getting oxygen into your brain. And have you ever noticed that while your body might feel a bit fatigued, you feel more alert and energized after a bout of exercise? And it's true. Just making yourself keep walking in your house, doing things instead of sitting on the couch watching some whatever. It's been proven that physical activity can improve brain functions and memory and cognition, both immediately after a workout and in the long term. That's worth something.
It
you
is.
know?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it endorphins. Like your body actually produces a hormone and lifts your mood, makes you feel better, and it does sharpen your memory, because they have done studies of people that exercise and those that don't, and the memory, and you can improve like what you were at. Like if you're not exercising at all and you got tested today, and then for 6 weeks you walked every day for like 4 or 5 days a week, your memory would start to improve. I mean, studies have shown that. And you know, who doesn't want to sharpen your memory? And there have been other studies, and I did it for another lighter side, that as you get older, it's not a given that you're going to lose these abilities. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe it looks like we're losing abilities because we're not on top of getting a little bit of exercise, and we're becoming more sedentary. So yeah, that makes a difference.
I know it makes a huge difference. Even I try not to think of it so much in terms of exercise and the specifics that everybody else says you have to do, but more so what makes me feel good and helps me to feel alive and alert. And for me, that's just going out in nature, walking, hiking. How much do you have to do to have it be a benefit?
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, you don't have to go crazy, just do something and you're going to feel better. So
Yes.
I think we all exercise, right? I don't know,
I do.
Carmen was fighting with me about this earlier.
No,
Where's
it's not that I
coming
don't move, because I do. So
Yeah, you kind of work, you're always on your feet, always moving. Hey, before we let you go, we want you to know that once again we were nominated, and we'd love it if you guys voted for us for Best of the Best again. We've made it for 5 years, and it's only because of you guys. You can text 130 to 701-515-3500 and vote online at Beck TV, or you can just use that QR code. And we're actually nominated for 4 different shows. I don't know if we have a little graphic for that, but Lori Hintz, Best Video Production, and I want one for Best Audience. You guys are the best, so vote for us, and thank you for joining us. Ladies of Another View, I'm Beck.
Ashley, North Dakota is where life moves a little slower, but never gets dull. From hunting, camping, and fishing to safe streets where kids can be kids, this is the best of small town living. And Ashley offers everything you need, from healthcare to hardware to countless ways to stay active. Here, we've invested in our future with major upgrades to roads, parks, and education. Whether you're here for the day or here for life, you'll find Ashley's where you ought to be.
We are the St. Mary Sisters. We are building a new facility here in Bismarck, North Dakota, for the sake of training young women to be courageous teachers in this state. The Sisters will educate the younger generation to be fully alive through truth and discipline. The Sisters' life of devotion and joy will make a positive difference in your community. Check out what we're up to, see what's going on, and join our mission to make a difference in the lives of the children of North Dakota.
I'm Gary Emmett, host of Open Range. We've been at this for the past couple years. Representative Matt Heilman of Bismarck and former legislator Brandon Pritchard are going to do some regular segments on Open Range. While we cover a lot of politics, we're still going to be continuing doing mostly all things North Dakota. One exception, Friday evening, I'll be doing a new show on Open Range called On the Horn. This show will be long interviews of 3 to 5 hours with the people I'm interviewing. They'll be airing week after week on that Friday evening. So thank you for being a part of the Beck TV and Open Range family.
Come on in and experience small town hospitality and the personalized care that makes car buying a pleasure.
We know that every journey starts with the right car. Whether it's school drop-off, weekend road trips, or your daily commute, we have the right vehicle for you and your family.
With trusted brands, affordable prices, and a team that treats you like family, finding your next car has never been so easy.
We pride ourselves on personal attention and quality service. Bassett Motors, where our customers send their friends.
Hey y'all, it's Trent on the loose. I want to tell you, Lady Blue and I, we got a lot of miles together, but you know what? You and I got a lot of miles together as well. And all I want to do is bring to you the information on how we maintain a domestic supply of food and fuel for future generations. So I'm going to continue to travel the world and unearth the stories that make it possible that we can live in a free United States of America.
I'm Corey Heppola, and a long time ago I left my small town for a big city. Now I wonder, what would it be like to move rural?
Just because we're small doesn't mean we can't have nice things.
This is my town.
Man, it's mad love up in here.
Sunday night, 6:30 on Beck TV.